Now that you've decided to join me and go on a journey to better health, taking baby steps to better health, I want to explain to you why it's so important to approach this with compassion. When you approach a new goal, which is frightening, it has a lot of unknowns, when you approach that with a sense of curiosity and self compassion, you are actually becoming your own cheerleader. You're telling yourself, I can do this, and I will stand beside myself every step of the way because I know and I believe in myself and I'm worthy of having this. That's the difference between being self compassionate versus taking the bootstrap approach. And what you need to know about that is it's exactly that harshness and tough attitude and calling yourself names and being mean to yourself that is creating the self sabotaging behavior. The reason why is because if you've had an experience where you've had a parent or some other authority figure that gave you a hard time about what you used to eat, telling you that you had to diet, that you were too fat, all of these other negative reinforcing messages that just gave you a real sense of not feeling like you had any control, any self control around food and what you ate. That's the difference between being self compassionate versus taking the bootstrap approach and being a drill sergeant. That never really works for long term. So your goal is to make sustainable changes over the long term. The best way to do that is as a loving parent would help a child to take their first steps in walking. Be encouraging, be loving, be patient and understanding. And that is the new way of handling changing your health. I know that probably as a dieter that you've been very accustomed to looking at challenges with your weight and your eating and your lifestyle with a very critical and frustrated perspective. But what that actually does is it creates a sense of you never being able to win. That no matter what you do, you can't win because that inner critic of yours is always going to have a tendency to point out your every flaw, to point out what you could have done better, what you should be doing, what other people are doing, things that pointing out your failures from the past and all of the other things that reinforce a very negative feeling like, well, what's the use? Why bother? I can't do anything right, so why bother? But as long as you take that attitude, what's the use? Why bother? Goal of getting healthy and changing your eating is beyond you, you will never be able to get to start. You'll never be able to take those baby steps required because although you may scroll on Facebook and see these amazing before and after images of people who have changed their eating and lost tons and tons of pounds, realistically, behind the scenes, what's going on is they're taking incremental steps to changing their habits. That's what's going on. You're not seeing the grit, you're not seeing the tears and the sweat and the pain because that's not really acceptable on social media. People refrain from doing that because they feel that it won't lend themselves to being positioned as the expert. That's why I'm leading this charge in the position of being an explorer. And I want you to join me and play along with me. Back to why self-compassion is so important is because that when you treat yourself with compassion and kindness and you recognize that you are doing the absolute best that you can with the information and resources that you have at that moment, then you understand, okay, I am where I am. But where you are is not where you're going to be in 5 minutes or a day or 2 days or a week from now. But what's essential is that you accept where you are. Because in the act of resisting, you create so much frustration and so much of a feeling of why bother that you end up paralyzed on the sofa, surfing through Netflix and eating yourself into oblivion. And that's not going to serve your outcome of wanting to change your eating. So that's why I'm offering you a whole new way of looking at this as a step by step process. I've taken the first step. The first step is to schedule an appointment with a doctor. I have scheduled an appointment with a local doctor. I've been curious, looking for somebody specific in the plant-based community for over a year now, and I found somebody who was like just a few miles away, which is amazing. So I have my first video chat with her this Friday, and then from there we'll meet in the office. But first we'll be talking about my medical history and all of that. So if you haven't yet scheduled an appointment with your doctor, if you haven't begun to take steps to just do an assessment of where you are, now's a good time to do it. Okay. If you do have health care, then that's a good thing to do. If not, then my next video is going to be for you, and it's going to be doing an energy assessment. I want you to start to, instead of taking that critical eye and looking at yourself and saying, well, I can't do this right, you can't do that, and I've always done that wrong. I want you to change your assessment tools. I want you to start looking at how you're spending your time and your energy, because down to the core, that is what is showing up in your health. All right. So have a great day. Bye now.